Welcome to Beacon of Creation, a weekly podcast on game design through the lens of Magic the Gathering. I'm Tim.
And I'm Peter, also known as Mono White Border.
We got a new set releasing, Aetherdrift. And what we've been doing for the last couple sets is we've been going through the archetype uncommons for the new sets. This is sort of a way to, let's look at these gold cards on their own. What do they tell us about the set? What should we strive for when we're making our own custom cards?
Yeah, we got 3 categories that we kind of go into. Longtime listeners will know that we used to have 4.
Yeah.
But we decided to go with a slight update here. So we're down to 3. They're excitement. How cool does it seem to play this archetype? Is there a wow factor to it when you read about it, when you look at the Arcoons? Accuracy. How likely does it look like this deck, this proposed deck idea, is going to come together? How many cards can you print that actually do the thing that you care about? And then synergy. Will this archetype make 2 cards combine better than they would in another archetype? Can this elevate some of the other cards that you're drafting? We're going to score on a scale of 1 to 5, but you don't necessarily need everything to be a 5. It's okay if you have some 1s in there. Yeah. If the cards aren't synergistic, maybe they're just straight up good, and that's okay too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. The other piece with like accuracy, part of what we're saying here is like, if I'm looking at this card in a pack, how much faith should I have that I can actually do this thing? I don't know. I think this is a common problem with like cubes or custom sets where people lay out their 10 archetypes and those archetypes sound really good. But when you go to draft them, like, you can't always put together some of those. Some of those are traps. And part of what accuracy is looking for is maybe what might be a trap. I mean, we don't know. I think one of the things we emphasize in these episodes is that this is not about telling you exactly how good each of these draft archetypes are to actually like draft in a real set. We're not training you for competitive sets. We're more just about that process of like, what do these cards look like? Does it seem like a set could contain this?
We're kind of quantifying like a first reaction when you're opening your pack, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
These archetype uncommons are plants put there by the designers, whether it's a custom set or a canon set. And how well is that plant doing what it's intended to do? Maybe it's just supposed to get you jazzed up and like, oh man, this color pair seems really neat. I'm going to pursue it. Or maybe it's just supposed to tell you, hey, this is what you're doing and get in there and do it. You're going to get it. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, I think it's really common for either newer players or players who don't know the cards very well, or just anyone who's looking at like more about like having fun more so than drilling down on the most perfect, powerful card. These archetype uncommons are just like a thing that you can keep in mind. Like, hey, maybe you throw like 8 cards that care about mounts in your deck, and they don't necessarily form like a fully cohesive deck. But when that chunk of the deck actually does show up at the same time, it's really fun when it shows up. It's cool that we're able to like have a fun thing to point to. Hey, I got to do the mount thing this one game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the format we usually do is we'll go in, we'll read kind of the description that you get, usually in the pack or in a handout. Wizards kind of produces this like short little paragraph about a title for what the archetype is, and then what that archetype's trying to do. And then we'll look at the archetype uncommons. Aetherdrift, it looks like there's going to be 2 multicolored uncommons that we'll take a look at. Then we'll kind of do our ratings.
I don't know about you, but this time around the descriptions from Wizards are even more about flavor than they are about mechanics than usual. Which made it a little harder to, a little hard to, I don't know, get much out of what they tell us. So we're this time around maybe more looking at the cards than looking at the paragraph.
Yeah, the names of the archetypes too were more straightforward, but then the explanations were like totally off the wall chaotic.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of into. What did you think?
Yeah, I think it made this episode harder to prep for, but otherwise I like them.
Yeah.
They're a little less crunchy, but maybe that's okay. Because maybe that's what I was talking about earlier. Here's a thing that someone who's like into Magic likes to draft, is going to draft this set like once, maybe twice. They can look at this and see like, oh, Artifact Bleeder. Oh, I've never done that. Scare your opponent silly. Like they're kind of like fun things to shoot for. And then when you see the cards in the pack, you're like, oh yeah, those are the spooky cards.
And this is kind of the Bloomborough logic. They were selling you just like a pair that you could just latch onto as a thing I like to do. Like, I like rats. I want to draft the rat deck. And here they're kind of selling you like scare your opponents silly, like, oh, that sounds like the thing that I like to do. That sounds like the flavor of character I like to play in D&D or something.
I guess another piece to Aetherdrift that jumped out at me is that, like, because each color pair has like a vehicle, so there's like a vehicle and then a non-vehicle. Sometimes it's a creature, a spell, whatever else. I think that had some danger of being generic. The vehicles all blend together. I think of this as the werewolf problem. All werewolves all sort of have the same flavor and feel kind of the same. So maybe part of what they're trying to do is they're really turning up the differences in flavor between these cards, so it's more noticeable that that different color pairs or different archetypes are different from each other.
I'll agree with you there, though, for sure. Some of the vehicles I think are a little bit blendy, not a whole lot of pop, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we're trying to figure out. Like, if you have a set where, I don't know, War of the Spark, where there are like a million planeswalkers everywhere, do those planeswalkers fit into the archetypes? Not really. They're all just kind of like one-offs. And depending on what you're trying to do with a set, that's either a good or bad thing. But they really had to like work to make these vehicles different from each other. But mechanically, they, they're very different flavor-wise, not quite as different mechanically. All right, but maybe we can get started here. Our first one is Artifact Value. Build up a board of artifacts until your rival is overwhelmed by your racing robot army. Capital R robot. Yeah.
I'm into robots. I'm going to go opposite Julia here.
Okay.
I'm into robots. I saw Overwhelm with my robot army. I was hyped about that. I was excited.
Yeah. We've seen a little bit of Magic. I was watching with my wife, Gabby, and the robots have like little LED faces, like little cutesy, maybe kind of Wally or Eve from Wally.
Yeah.
They have cute little expressive faces, and that really sold her on it.
Oh yeah, I was digging the flavor of one of the archetype uncommons for sure.
Our first one here is Guidelight Pathmaker. 4 white blue, so 6 mana for a 6/5 artifact vehicle. It has Vigilance. It has Crew 2. And then it has an Enters ability. When this vehicle enters, you may search your library for an artifact card and reveal it. Put it onto the battlefield as mana value is 2 or less. Otherwise, put it into your hand. Then shuffle.
Yeah, so you're getting a big old 6 mana vehicle that comes with a tutor, which is pretty neat. Yeah. And then if you tutor something small, you can put it right on the battlefield. Otherwise, you got to cast it. Yeah.
It's a nice little bit of flexibility. I think with a giant vehicle, the concern might be you play this on turn 6 and your creatures have been picked off. So at the very least, I can like tutor in a tiny little robot who can then pilot this 6/5 and keep me alive.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a pretty solid blocker late in the game.
Yeah.
The sorcery to go with it is Voyage Home. 5 white blue, but it has affinity for artifacts, so it costs 1 less for each artifact you control. Draw 3 cards, and you gain 3 life. Observation. At current rate of travel, eventual rediscovery of home is a mathematical inevitability. Firm imperative. Let's go.
Let's go.
Should I have gone more robotic in my voice?
No, it's fine. All right, so 7 mana, draw 3, gain 3. Kind of need this to be 4 mana for this to be a good card.
I thought you need 3 artifacts for sure.
Yeah. Which is saying pretty strongly that I better have a bunch of artifacts. I can't just have vehicles. I have to have artifact creatures or artifact doodad, whatever's. We did some ratings before the pod.
Yeah.
We were pretty even overall in this and pretty high on the different components of this faction overall.
I was pretty excited about him. I think the excitement level might come down to flavor here. I put it at 4. Yeah. It's one of those archetypes I don't see a lot, but I am interested in playing whenever I do see it.
Yeah, I normally think of like if there's one artifact deck in a draft set, then that's more like a Modern Masters type set because it's sometimes hard to get that to make it believable, I guess. Like here, I guess you have a little bit of the benefit of there's going to be vehicles just naturally everywhere. Like we're trying to put a lot of vehicles everywhere in every color. So it's just naturally a little bit more likely that there'll be enough artifacts and they maybe said, hey, let's do it. Let's just have an artifact theme. Let's have some robots. And the robots are really cute.
I did ding this a little bit on accuracy. I originally put a 4 there, and I bumped it down to a 3. And my concern with the accuracy is looking at these 2 archetype cards, I actually wasn't super sure how I should be playing this deck. Am I drafting an aggro deck? Am I drafting a more mid-rangey deck where it's like I'm gonna build out big robots, or am I like full on control and it's my late game robots that are gonna win me the day? I wasn't totally sure because like both of these are expensive cards. The Voyage Home has this element of like it's refilling your hand, but it's also gaining you life because maybe you took a beating early on.
Yeah.
So I just felt like my direction wasn't super clear. That's why I dinged it on accuracy.
Yeah. And synergy-wise, we were both quite high on this. Yeah, we were both 5s on it. Because, especially Voyage Home, if you don't have 10, 12 artifacts in your deck, you can't really play Voyage Home.
Mm-hmm.
It's making those artifacts better for you, like just random artifact creatures better for you. And this card gets like much, much, much better as you play into it. If you're able to have basically all your permanents be artifacts, and this is 3 mana or something like that, you're really getting rewarded.
Thinking about, are these cards changing the way I would view cards generally in the draft?
Yeah.
And both of these cards, I think, are doing that really effectively.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I might see that 2 mana Dirtly artifact. Well, I want that because that might be something good to tutor for my Pathblighter. And then it also plays into my Voyage Home really well.
Yeah. I would probably guess that this is one of the slowest decks in this set. This is, the usual suspects of Golgari and Simic, which are typically the slowest decks.
Mm-hmm.
These two cards are not saying, hey, you're the tempo-y blue-white flyers.
Mm-hmm. Our next archetype is blue-black Artifact Bleeder. Scare your opponent silly with a combination of robots and possessed toys that pressure your opponent's life total.
Yeah, we got like a secret like Duskmourn faction to this. Like we're not visiting the plane of Duskmourn, but there are a lot of cards that feed that flavor.
Shout out to Larson. I feel like this is one of their like favorite archetypes from like old school Innistrad, the zombie like slowly bleed them out archetype. And then my other note here was just insane paragraph. Combination of robots and possessed toys. Like somebody was having fun while writing that one.
The specific call out of robots there is kind of novel because it can be hard if only one archetype cares about a thing at all, because it just might not be enough cards in, adjacent colors to make it work. But if at least like blue, white and blue, black are both saying robots, let's do robots, then, that makes it a little more plausible that there's going to be enough cares about artifact stuff to go around.
The vehicle for this archetype is Haunted Hellride, 1 blue, black for a 3/3. Whenever you attack, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains Death Touch until end of turn. Untap it. And it has Crew 1.
3 mana, 3/3 Crew 1, which is like the OK vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
You will be able to tap any creature in order to get your 3 mana, 3/3 to work. So this is a little bit more about the ability. Whenever you attack, you give out some Death Touch, and you also untap the thing that attacks. So sort of pseudo-vigilance.
Mm-hmm. A lot more of a get-in type of card than we normally see in blue-black, I feel like.
Yeah. Are blue creatures going to be big? No. Are black creatures going to be big? Usually not, but sometimes. How do we make sure that we're actually killing our opponent? Well, all of your little guys can hit for a little bit more, and also they're untapped so you can crew your vehicles on defense.
Mm-hmm.
The other card here is Haunt the Network, 3 blue-black for a sorcery. So 5 mana sorcery, choose target opponent, create 2 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying. Then the chosen player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of artifacts you control. We got like Welcome Back Grey Merchant. This is like the Grey Merchant of artifacts.
Yeah, so we're on our floor is get 2 1/1s, target player loses 2 life, you gain 2 life. Nice little stabilizer. And then the upside here is that you've cast a bunch of artifact creatures, made a bunch of tokens, and you're draining your opponent for 6, 7, 8.
So Grey Merchant is like a card from Theros. It's a 5 mana creature. When it enters, each opponent loses X life, where X is your devotion to black, and then you gain that much. Kind of a similar effect here. This is an easy card to overlook at first. It was even a common in original Theros. But it really only took like 1 or 2 other creatures, draining 4, draining 5, for it to be like, holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
And this Haunted Network feels similar to me. 2 1/1 flyers, about as good as a 2/4 ground creature, I would say. Maybe even better if you're also chunking your opponent, because now you're only a couple life away.
At 5 mana, this is a card that screams like you're trying to stabilize a little bit and close out the game. Whether it's closing out the game because like I was pretty aggressive early and now I need to like just get that last 6 points of life off of you.
Yeah.
Or it's because I had to be more reactive and now I can chump block and gain some of that life back that I may have lost early on.
Yeah, I think part of what made Grey Merchant so good back in the day was that like normal limited isn't so polarized where one person's the aggro, one person's control.
Right.
It's like a little bit in between. So both players are at 12 or whatever. And when you tilt 12 on 12 to 8 on 16, then it makes it really clear what a large impact this effect has. I guess the other kind of interesting thing is that this is a big effect, but this is a big effect if you're playing into it. This is maybe only barely worth the mana if you have no other artifacts.
I had the same exact note. I'm like, if I'm paying 5 mana and just getting 2 1/1s and then drain 2, lose 2, oof, that's a pretty mediocre turn 5.
Yeah. So we were also pretty high on this archetype overall.
Yeah. I was super glad to see it come back. Usually you see this archetype in white-black, and I feel like blue-black offers a fun reinterpretation of it most of the time. That feels just a little bit different, a little bit more unique. So I was excited to see it return.
A little bit more tempo-y, a little more evasive, versus like a black-white, which might be more of a just like endless value.
Yeah. Accuracy-wise, we agreed again. Here, a 3.
Yeah.
I was kind of thinking, yeah, I feel like I can do this. I feel like there's also a pretty good chance that like it just doesn't quite come together some drafts. And so I just kind of have this like kind of exactly how he said. It's like sometimes that second archetype card is going to feel awesome and perfect, and sometimes it's going to feel like, ooh, this was a kind of bad turn 5.
I guess part of accuracy to me is like, if I just have cards in this color, what's the chance that it's this deck?
Mm-hmm.
Is blue-black like naturally want to play a lot of artifacts? Not particularly. Blue-black is, kill a couple creatures, put up a couple walls, and draw some cards. Maybe, I guess, if those walls are artifacts, maybe, it just happens more naturally. I could probably get bumped up a little bit. There are a lot of vehicles in this set. We've seen robots around.
And like, I'm not always going to get to do this is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you want to feel like you are being skillful in a draft. You want your players to feel like they are making choices in the draft. So like a 3 on accuracy isn't necessarily the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to reemphasize that like high and low scores aren't like good card design and bad card design.
Mm-hmm.
It's more just like getting a handle on, should I believe that this is possible?
Yep.
Or should I think that this is just like a far off dream that won't really happen? Or it's really ambitious. I have to really dedicate hard in order to make this happen.
All right. And then synergy, I put a 2, you put a 3. I think in my notes I had a 2.5, so I could see it really going either way. Haunt the Network is one of these cards where like, that is why I bumped it up to a 2. That is a card that cares about you having other artifacts. It kind of makes you want other artifacts. It's going to get a lot better the more artifacts you have.
Yeah.
But Haunted Hellride is really... It comes down and it does a thing. It doesn't matter what's screwing it. It will make itself a 4/3 attacker, but you don't even need to crew it to make that happen. Like, if this is just an artifact on your side of the battlefield and never becomes a creature, you're still getting the effect, which is totally fine. Great. You want this to have an impact, especially as a crew 1/3/3.
The Hellride, the vehicle, doesn't totally care about it. Like, it doesn't really care about artifacts at all. If you just have zombies, well, I attack with my zombie, it becomes a 3/2 death touch, probably hits. If I've got some random flyer that gets to attack, it probably hits. If I've got some big creature, I get to attack with that, untap it so it can block. Hellride works with a pretty wide variety of cards.
It totally just hit me that this is supposed to be a tractor, and so it's a haunted hayride, but instead it's a Hellride. That totally just clicked for me live here on the podcast.
You even higher on it now?
I'm definitely higher on the excitement. Definitely increased my first tractor in Magic, I think. Not enough agriculture in Magic. Come on.
There's a lot of trackers, but maybe not tractors. All right, next up we've got Black Red. We got Rakdos here. This is max speed aggro. Ensure you reach max speed to drive your rivals into the pavement. Max speed, start your engines. This is the mechanic where like you have to Hit your opponent 3 times to get to max speed, and then a bunch of your cards get better when you do so.
I really felt what we kind of mentioned earlier, where they were very general on their explanations of these archetypes and their pitches here, because I really drew no conclusions from that sentence.
Yeah. The mechanic exists, is what it says.
The ratings I have here were really reliant on what these archetype cards are doing.
Yeah.
And kind of explaining what the hell is this archetype. Okay, I'm trying to go fast. Let's see if I can do that.
Yeah. The vehicle is Apocalypse Runner, 2 black-red, 4 mana for a 6/5 vehicle, crew 3. So a little hard to crew, but you get a big vehicle. And then if you don't want to do that, it has a completely opposite ability.
Mm-hmm.
Tap, target creature you control with power 2 or less gains lifelink until end of turn and can't be blocked this turn.
Okay, so we have the classic kind of crew 3 formula here, which if you crew 3, you're getting a tank of power and toughness.
Yeah.
And then you can tap here. Basically, if you can't crew it, you just tap it to make one of your small creatures that can't crew it unblockable. And it gains you some life. So no connection to max speed here, though. Like, I have no more clarity on the archetype, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a guaranteed way to get your speed to go up if you've already got the speed going, because your little creature can't be blocked. It only takes a couple hits to get to max speed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is kind of an interesting mixture. This is an unusual card design. When it's unusual, that makes me think like most people won't want this, or maybe even people in this color won't want this. But yeah, maybe we can think more about it when we see the other card.
Our creature here is Gastel Thrillseeker, which is black-red for creature lizard berserker with start your engines. If you have no speed, it starts at 1. It increases once on each of your turns when an opponent loses life. Max speed is 4. When this creature enters, it deals 1 damage to target opponent, and you gain 1 life. And then it has max speed, so if your speed is at 4, this creature has Death Touch and Haste. It's a 2/3.
This like ticks you right up to 2 speed as it enters, basically. To start your engines, once that permanent's on the battlefield, your speed will be 1. And then the enters trigger will resolve, and your speed will go up to 2.
Yep, and then if you're later on in the game, maybe you've dealt damage, and then this comes in, and you get to attack right away because you've reached max speed. Yeah. And it's a pretty good attacker late in the game, despite being a 2-mana 2/3, because it's still got the Death Touch, so it's still trying to trade up here. And it works with your Apocalypse Runner, because you can make it unblockable, gain lifelink. So the 2 cards kind of work together here.
I think the most interesting thing about this design is max speed, it has haste. Like, that's such a unusual mixture. Like, that means when you play this normally, it won't have haste. But after you've already hit max speed, now it has haste. Like, it has haste on turn 6 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Which is just I don't know, like kind of a novel time to give someone haste. Normally I would expect like, oh, I want my 2-mana aggro creature to have haste naturally. I guess it has sort of pseudo haste because it deals one of the 2 damage that it would deal.
Yeah, it feels like that max speed is basically trying to make up for, you want to play this card on turn 2, but like you didn't draw it to turn 5, so like, hey, well, here, you know what? Here you go. Give it Death Touch and Haste. Make it a halfway decent creature. I'm
pretty interested about Start Your Engines at max speed, which I think led me to a higher excitement score than you on this. Not that high. I'm at 3, you're at 1.
Yeah.
These cards being so unusual made me think that like max speed must have just been like an absolute steamroller early on, and they had to say, hold up. Let's not give Rakdos quite as many tools. Let's make them work for it a little bit. And I think that's maybe where these cards ended up, where these cards are not that good or aren't that appealing.
I think you nailed my thoughts perfectly there. They aren't that appealing. There's a lot going on here for me to get to, like, now that we've sat with it a little bit more, I can kind of see what the game plan is. I can see what the deck's trying to do.
Yeah.
But like when you're looking at a pack, you're looking at 15 cards. You don't have that much time to really dwell and think about a card individually, unless you want to hold up the entire draft.
I think I would agree with you that if you read Apocalypse Runner blind in a pack, the appeal is like negative.
it's one of those cards you just move directly to the back of the pack. It's like, I'm not picking that one. Let's move that over here.
I guess I sort of wrapped around all the way from like interested to uninterested, all the way back to interested because I was so deep in the negative on interested. I'm like, what could be going on here? What is happening?
There's got to be something here.
Yeah. I mean, like getting lifelink on an unblockable guy, that feels like it does something. Or if I have fire breathing on some creatures, see, I'm like thinking of things that like I might actually see that would make this work. Like I've got my 1-powered fire breathing guy. I can pump a bunch of mana and gain like 4 life. I feel like I'm winning that.
Mm-hmm. Accuracy here, I was at 3, you were at 4.
I felt it was almost impossible that this would not be what you're doing if you're playing the Rakdos deck.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I was thinking more on the lines of like, how confident do I feel that I am like how confident do I feel that I'm at max speed and now I feel like I'm just like slamming and feeling awesome against my opponent. And so that's where I came down to a 3 was that like I reach max speed. How great do I feel right now? Not that great.
Yeah. Will I be cooking once I'm at max speed? I believe, yes.
Yeah.
My cards will actually be murdering people pretty good. My hesitation with max speed in general with Start Your Engines is that like it's kind of inconsistent to get to. It's like, the bonuses for having max speed are good, but am I really going to be able to do that? Is my opponent already going to be dead by the time that I get it? And these give me the tools where I actually like make sure that I hit max speed on turn 4 or 5, probably 5. And then like, if, all my cards from turn 6 onward become good, which is what I need in my aggro deck. I need a late game boost.
And then synergy here, you were at 4, which I think makes sense to you. And I think I'm open to an argument that my synergy score could be higher here. But 2 would almost indicate that these cards do have some power on their own, which they do not. They need other cards to do anything.
Yeah, we deleted the raw strength category, but here you would be low on both.
Yeah.
I think in general, the things we saw in previous episodes was like you would have high synergy and low raw strength, or low synergy and high, like they were just like opposites of each other. But here you're just down across the board.
I'm just not super jazzed about any of these cards.
Yeah.
I think I could be conned up to a 3 here of just like you're dealing damage, you're finding ways to sneak in. Like they do work in the deck, but
yeah, fair enough.
All right, am I reading the next one?
Yep.
Red green exhaust mid range. Burn everything in the tank to enhance the Goblin Rocketeers to impressive size. Exhaust here is another new mechanic that's in the set.
Yeah,
and we'll read about it in those archetype uncommons so we can talk about it.
Yeah, it's on both of them.
I'm engaging with the idea as someone who has run out of fuel in their car multiple times.
Oh no.
I'm really engaged with the idea of like, we want to burn everything. We're not making a pit stop. We're going to do the extra lap, get ahead and roll across the finish line. I'm liking that.
Okay. All right, give us that first vehicle.
The vehicle is Rocketeer Boost Buggy, red and green, for a 3/2 vehicle with crew 1. When it attacks, you create a treasure token, and then it has exhaust. Pay 3. This vehicle becomes an artifact creature. Put a +1/+1 counter on it. Activate each exhaust ability only once. So 2 mana, 3/2, crew 1.
Yeah.
So you're crewing this with pretty much anything. Solid attacker, make a treasure token. I think we've seen that before in this same slot. And then late game, I don't have to crew this anymore. I can just turn it into a creature and it's driving on its own.
Yeah. 3/2 is that famous stat line that can sometimes trade up, but usually trades down or it trades across. And even when you get that extra counter on there with the exhaust ability, you're still a 4/3, so your opponent can probably stop it. But when you attack, you get treasure. I guess you need that treasure because you need to exhaust your stuff. You've got so much exhaust stuff out there that you want like 1 or 2 extra treasure.
Your exhaust abilities are similar to like monstrous, so they're usually costing more than the creature, and then they enhance the creature in some way or give you a big one-off effect. So you need mana to get into these exhaust abilities.
Yeah. This boost buggy, the art for this boost buggy is what they use for the draft archetypes overall. So they feel this somehow exemplifies the spirit of Aetherdrift. And then our other card here is Boom Scholar. 1 red green, 3 mana for a 3/3. It's a goblin. Exhaust abilities of other permanents you control cost 2 less to activate. And then it has exhaust itself of other permanents, so you can't discount yourself here.
Mm-hmm.
Exhaust for 4 red green. Creatures and vehicles you control gain trample until end of turn. Put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature. So it turns into a 5/5, and then everybody just gets trample until end of turn.
Yeah. So this is kind of trying to be your finisher here. 3 mana, 3/3. Is that good? You're the person I go to for these questions.
Well, it's got 2 extra abilities on it, so I think that yeah.
Okay, we're fine with the stat line here.
Yeah. In red green, you could easily have a 4/4 in green.
Mm-hmm.
It's maybe slightly understated for this particular color.
But he's making you exhaust a lot easier here. If you have your Rocketeer, next turn you can exhaust it for just 1 mana.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the game, he's going to help you trample over. You've made some big creatures now. Get in.
Yeah.
Finish off the game.
If you are a fair amount larger than your opponent, this ability really does some work.
Mm-hmm.
It's 6 mana to make a creature bigger by 2, which is not that great. So you need the trample to matter for this ability to be good. And our scores are pretty different on this one. I'm at excitement 1.
Yeah,
I looked at these and I was not a believer that this is going to be a fun thing to do. And you were 4, right?
Yeah. I'm into exhaust, and I think it's kind of interesting. So it seems like you're a little bit more interested in max speed. Think that could be a little bit cooler.
Yeah,
I'm more interested in exhaust. I'm like, I'm for it. I think it speaks to me as someone who drives on an empty tank more often than they should.
I guess I could believe that both these cards work. Like my scores across the other categories were higher.
Not much higher.
By a little bit.
You're really the bar's pretty low.
Yeah. I don't totally believe that I need the mana discount or that it'll be worth me jumping through hoops to get a little bit of treasure. I don't know. I just feel like you just play your cards and you don't need a discount. Like you just hit your exhaust abilities late game when you need to hit them. Like hitting the exhaust on Boom Scholar early doesn't really matter. If I generated 2 extra treasure, getting trample early is who cares?
Well, so it's kind of interesting that's exactly why I went high on the accuracy. Is I felt like I'm gonna get to turn 6, I'm gonna exhaust one of my creatures, and it's gonna that's gonna feel like a great use of my mana and maybe be a win condition. I feel like this archetype is really asking me to exhaust once, maybe twice in a game, and then you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. And I feel it's very reasonable for me to get there. I'll definitely be exhausting a card at least once in this game.
I guess I'm a believer that you will use the exhaust abilities on almost all your creatures. I think exhaust the mechanic works. Is cares about exhaust the thing? That's the thing that I maybe am pumping the brakes on.
And then synergy wise, we were both about the same too. These cards do what they're doing. And I think that's where I come to your side of do I really need the cost 2 less to activate here? Probably not. If I'm paying 6 mana to exhaust this guy, I'm paying 6 mana. It's fine. If I wanted to exhaust my boost buggy, I would do it for 1. I'd do it for 3. I don't.
All right.
The costs here are fine on them.
I guess I would probably come up on accuracy a little bit because I guess I believe that you will have a wide variety of exhaust cards that will all put you over the top in the middle to late game.
All right, maybe we can get you up to a 3. Put a little edit in there. Cool. Part of this exercise that's good is people are going to view your cards differently. We don't have to agree. I can be excited about something that you just think is lame.
Yeah, I guess if the thing we were saying about Apocalypse Runner, where if you read that naked, you're back of the pack.
Mm-hmm.
The Boom Scholar and Boost Buggy to me are kind of in that zone where I'm looking for other stuff to do. All right, next up, we've got our first non-wheeled entry here. We've got green-white vehicles and mounts mid-range. The Alacrian Quick Beasts have skilled pilots who will ride your mounts and vehicles across the finish line.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Thanks for riding my mounts and vehicles across the finish line. I feel like we saw this archetype in Outlaws, right? Outlaws did the mounts archetype too.
I was reading, like, Mark Rosewater said that, like, Saddle actually originated in Aetherdrift and got kind of, like, backported over to Thunder Junction. And I think because of that, Thunder Junction stole all the heat, away from this set, where now I'd look at this and say, well, I've already done that. It was good there. It was good in Thunder Junction. It was a good deck, but I've already done it.
We should go back and look at what our scores were for the archetype in Thunder Junction, and then we can probably just port them over here as though it were fresh. But Thunder Junction has ruined it, and so it might affect our scores moving forward.
The first card here is quite powerful, though.
Oh, yeah.
Lagarin, Soul of Alacria. It's a green-white, 2 mana for legendary creature Beast Mount. It's like a weird bat thing. I'm not quite sure what Lagarin is. It's a 1/1. So 2 mana, 1/1 flyer. When Lagarin attacks while saddled, put a +1/+1 counter on each of up to 2 target mounts and or vehicles. And a saddled 1. So basically anything can get this thing saddled. And if you do saddle it, you're pumping probably 2 things. At least one thing. It can at least pump itself.
Yeah, you're looking to saddle this every turn.
Yeah.
And it's pretty solid if you do. Like, that's a nice rate. The only hindrance here might be, can your 1/1 get in? But you have the flying there, so chances are you'll be able to sneak this through. Yeah.
And this makes me want to have a second one of these on the battlefield, like a vehicle or a mount. And that's maybe more direction than mounts in Thunder Junction gave, where Thunder Junction was like, just have good mounts and then saddle them, and then you're done. This is saying, like, hey, don't just have 1 or 2 good mounts. Have all mounts. Have a lot of mounts and vehicles.
Do you have sometimes I look at the art and I can't quite parse out how I'm supposed to be seeing this. So I just have to keep... What the hell is this mount? This card desperately is in need of flavor text to guide me as to how I'm supposed to be looking at it. It looks like a bird, but it has an arm, but only on one side. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I think those are I think it's a bat owl, but the wings are attached to beast arms. It's a crazy creature.
Yeah, it is its own thing.
This is definitely like the kind of art where it's like so unparsable at card size that you're like, this is kind of nothing.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
The creature that goes with it is Veteran Beast Rider. 1 green-white for a 3/4 human knight. At the beginning of your end step, untap each creature you control. Whoa.
Wow.
2 green-white. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. Your enemies will underestimate you, but you must never underestimate yourself. Oh, thanks, Veteran Beast Rider.
See, we got a 3/4 here for 3, so we're even higher than your Boom Scholar. And these are both 2 very good abilities.
Yeah. The only thing I noted as a negative on this card was, why is it a 3/4 that makes me not want to lean into the mount part of this? Like, 3/4 is kind of a good attacker. Like, make the toughness weaker so that I want to crew.
It can crew or saddle anything, I think is maybe part of the idea. And they're like, hey, give it a bunch of toughness too so it can block for free.
Yeah. It's just, it does it all.
Yeah. This says battlefield superiority more than the red-green stuff does. The red-green stuff, I wasn't confident that they were actually that big. These are big.
Well, the red-green stuff you have to exhaust to make it big.
Oh, okay.
This stuff is just big at the outset.
Starts big, yeah. Yeah, both these abilities are really killer. This is maybe another casualty of raw power leaving our rankings, because these would both rate quite high on raw power. Whereas I rated this quite low on excitement.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, I think I was generous giving it a 2.
I guess maybe are the cards so powerful that it should pull my excitement up from 1 to 2, just because it's like, I want to slam this card in a deck? I don't know.
I went 2 because Lagorin is the archetype of card that I just kind of am attracted to, of like legendary creature, 2 mana, 1/1 that keeps growing over the course of the game. Like, I'm a sucker for that. Dang it. I'll give it a 2.
We've kind of seen just like the card that like at the beginning of combat hands out a +1/+1 counter is just routinely like a very solid thing. There was like a 2 mana constructed one that just handed out a counter to a creature every turn. Here's more conditional. I have to be playing these creature types, but you get flying too. I don't know. Maybe I would go up a little on excitement just because these cards are so good. And maybe is that a lesson? Is your archetype boring? Just juice the crap out of the gold cards.
I feel like we've learned that lesson a couple different times on these episodes.
Yeah.
The cards are good, so that's exciting.
Yeah. Accuracy, we were both quite high on accuracy. Like, if you're playing green-white, you're at least sort of mounts and beasts, and it's not too hard to get to be all about mounts and vehicles. I think being just a vehicle deck is difficult because all your vehicles need crew. But when you get to mixed mounts in there, there's no doubt that your deck will function. You can have 10 mounts, 12 mounts in your deck without a downside.
I think the only reason that both of us aren't a 5 is because we're like, sometimes it's not even going to feel like I'm a vehicle mount deck. It's just going to feel like I'm a green-white stompy deck. Yeah. And is that really... Are we really being truly accurate? Like, especially with this veteran Beast Rider, it's just like, play green-white creatures and attack with them. Like, okay, I can do that. That's not really signaling to do anything special with saddle or crew.
Yeah. And then synergy.
Well, we're both middle of the road.
Yeah.
These cards are both very good, and then Legorin synergizes very well with mounts and vehicles by explicitly referencing them.
Yeah, it kind of works on its own. It's just like a flyer that gets bigger every turn. You can build towards it to make that better at that. But yeah, kind of like you were saying, it's a 3/4. Why do I care about doing anything else with the Beast Rider than attacking with it? Like,
that was a big fail for me. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know, make it a 4/2 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, the higher the raw power is, we deleted that category. But the higher that is, the less I need to care about synergy because I'm just stomping. Powerful cards. Tell me about Black-White.
Yeah. Black-White is max speed attrition. Ooh. The champions of Amonkhet keep their feet on the gas to reach max speed and unleash a zombie onslaught.
Do you know who won the Aetherdrift race?
Oh, absolutely not.
It's Black-White.
Really? Zombies?
Yeah.
Well, it's not fair. It's a death race and they're already dead.
Basri was also on their side.
Were they the only team with a Planeswalker? Once again,
he's not Planeswalker.
Oh, he got unsparked?
Chandra's the Planeswalker.
He got unsparked?
He's just chilling. He needed to win so bad, a new god came into being. Ketramos.
Wow. Well, this story, maybe should I have gone back and read this story? This story kind of sounded crazy.
Yeah, the Aetherdrift story blew away my expectations. There's a lot of like well-written things and also fun twists.
So like Thunder Junction, I think, kind of soured me on these like multiverse team up. Everybody's hanging out again. Thunder Junction did not work for me flavorfully in that aspect, and I think it soured me on this set. But maybe it deserves a revisit. I probably won't.
Yeah. Just listen to Vorthos cast.
Okay.
They'll recap the story for you.
Great shout out.
All right, so we got this max speed attrition. We're going to get to max speed, but a little slower than Rakdos. And all our cards are just going to be 2 cards each.
Yeah, our first uncommon plays right into that. Dune Drifter, X white black for a 3/3 vehicle. When it enters, return target artifact or creature card with mana value X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. It's got crew 2. So classic black-white reanimation spell here.
Yeah. This is a kind of a nice twist on it too, because I could see paying any amount into X and be happy with what I get out of it. If I pay just 1 mana, get a 1/1 back, I think I'm actually kind of good with that because that 1/1 probably has an ability. If I pay 2 mana, 3 mana, 4 mana, I'm getting what I pay for, and I get a vehicle to go with it. Am I probably going to be sacrificing vehicles to destroy things? Probably. Do I need to like jump and trade off things? And is this Dune Drifter good at trading off? Yeah, it's good enough at trading off. It's a 3/3 vehicle. So like no matter how much mana I pay, I'm getting an okay deal.
So I am working on a vehicle set of my own alongside Red Bay.
Yeah.
We formulated kind of our own theory about what crew cost should be. Crew 1, crew 2, crew 3. Crew 1 is kind of like incidental crew. You're caring more about the effect. You mentioned that earlier with the blue-black uncommon. Crew 3 is like, you don't care about the crew, but when you do crew it, you feel reward. It's humongous. It's a 4 mana 6/5. We probably would have gone bigger. We probably would have gone 4 mana 6/6. Crew 2 is the cost where you start caring about crewing this thing. If it's crew 2, I want to get behind the wheel of this thing. And I'm signaling that to the drafter by having crew 2 there. I bump up the stats a little bit. It's a good attacker. This card does not match that theory at all. So WotC went totally different because this is at best this is a 2-mana 3/3 with no effects crew 2, which is a terrible car. I'm never getting behind the wheel of it. And probably more likely, I'm imagining this as like a 5-mana 3/3 crew 2, which is just a disaster. So this is really just caring about the effect, and I would have put it at a crew 1. Just interesting. I'm not saying who's right or wrong. WotC has their whole own philosophy, I'm sure, behind crew. But it was very interesting to see where they came out on where to put the crew cost of this card.
This is not a power level card to me. This is a strategy card. Like, if I'm living the black-white lifestyle and I've really orientated my whole deck behind that, then I think this Dune Drifter will be a great piece. But if I'm just like black-white because my rares are good, this Dune Drifter is, I guess, it's still a good late game play, but it's really not good until much later in the game. The other card here, this guy's a real goofball. He kind of got a Skeletor vibe to me. I don't know.
Yeah, a Skeletor vibe.
Oh, there you go.
I'm down on this archetype just because of the creature types.
Yeah, Amonkhet's really invested in their zombies, so they don't want skeletons.
I get it.
It's Embalmed Ascendant, 1 white black for a 1/2. It has Start Your Engine, so it'll get your speed started, and then hopefully you can finish that up. When this creature enters, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. And at max speed, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. So this is a 1/2 that comes with a 2/2, which is like a fully normal solid deal for 3 mana. And then it is going to have a hard time getting your engines started. But it benefits quite a bit if you can actually get your engines going. I really want to bring this back with Dune Drifter. Get some speed going, trade off a bunch of things early, then Dune Drifter, so I get my Ascendant and an extra zombie. When those things die, or the Dune Drifter dies, I'm draining my opponent. The 2 cards work together, at least.
I don't know. I felt like maybe that max speed should be lose 2 life, gain 2 life or something, but I guess probably that was too strong.
Well, we were both pretty low on excitement on this archetype.
Yeah, we were both 2 on excitement. Accuracy, I ended up at 4.
Yeah, and I think I would actually come up to 4. I think if you're playing black-white, can you be like an aggro deck? I guess maybe there's enough like white aggro cards and like Gostal vampire cards that you could just be aggro.
The thing that really sold me on 4 was the idea of Dune Drifter bringing back something that says start your engines. And so then you've started your engines twice that way. That spoke to me as like a play pattern you would see a lot of. Because there are cards that specifically start your engines from the graveyard. You want them in the graveyard to start your engines. So like that is what hit for me. And maybe I'm letting some podcast listening from outside this exercise influence me a little bit. But the Dune Drifter, I think, bumped up my belief in the archetype.
Okay, yeah. And then Synergy, I think I would probably actually come up a little bit on Synergy here. I started 3.
I also started 3. The fact that start your engines keys off opponent loss of life makes those like random little black cards that like drain an opponent, it makes them a lot better. And you really have to get to max speed for this Embalmed Ascendant to feel awesome.
I guess part of what was holding me back on giving higher scores, like on accuracy or synergy here, is like, I don't totally believe it'll work. Like, start your engines, I need to be getting damage in, so I need to be playing other creatures that are separate from this strategy that are good at moving my engine forward. Like, I don't think I can like chump attack where I have like 3 2/2s and I attack into my opponent and they eat 2 of those 2/2s, but one of them gets through and increases my speed. I don't feel confident that would pay off. Whereas like an aggro deck where I'm doing that because that's my opponent's last 2 life. Oh yeah, okay, cool. That was worth doing. You have to block in order to do attrition, and this is this good at blocking? Maybe not. All right, next up here we've got blue red. What's it up to? It's up to discard aggro, Avast, cycle and discard away unneeded cards to improve your pirates so they can throw your opponent overboard. Yeah, discard pirates.
And shark pirates.
This is like a new, fresh enough thing that I was pretty high on this idea. I want to do this. And our vehicle here is Boosted Sloop. 1 blue red for a 3/3 vehicle with crew 1. So our like baseline small vehicle, right? 3 mana, 3/3, crew 1. It has menace, and whenever you attack, draw a card, then discard a card. Weirdly, not when this attacks, like the treasure guy. This is whenever you attack in general, you get to loot.
Very good enabler.
Yeah.
If they're saying that the archetype is about discarding cards,
Yeah.
this card says you will discard cards every turn if you want to.
Yeah. Definitely agree.
And then our instant here is Broadside Barrage, 1 blue red. Instant deals 5 damage to target creature or planeswalker, draw a card, then discard a card.
Yeah.
3 mana, 5 damage. I'm happy with that.
I had a hard time rating this because I have seen other Aetherdrift cards, and there are some absolutely sick payoffs for the discard strategy. But by looking at these 2 cards, you would have no idea. Like, these are just raw enablers. They don't do anything but enable.
Yes. I would have liked to see a payoff as one of these 2 cards.
It's like looting is good, and these cards feel like they're maybe okay enough.
The archetype uncommons are telling me that I will be discarding cards.
Yeah.
Which is good. The problem is they aren't telling me why I'm going to be discarding cards. I'm just doing it because the cards tell me to do it.
Like, I feel like we had this exact same burn spell in red just like a set ago. Yeah, I mean, it discarded first, but it's like just a red card that you get to hit for 5 and loot a card or rummage a card.
It's so strange to me that in a world of 2 archetypes uncommons, you would have them both just be the same type of uncommon, right? You wouldn't have one be an enabler, one be a payoff.
Yeah.
These cards really fill the same niche, even at the same mana cost. It's so strange.
Yeah. But I guess maybe I was a little too poisoned by the knowledge there, where I'm excited for this. I want to do the pirates. The pirates look really fun. They're big goofball, chunky shark guys, which rule.
What did I put? I put 3 as excitement.
Yeah.
I don't know why I put 3. I guess my excitement is diminished because of the lack of payoff.
If I'm going by these 2 cards, my excitement's like a 2. But if I'm going by knowing a little bit more about the set, or maybe even reading this blurb here, my excitement's quite high. This feels like an unusual thing that you don't get to do very often.
My excitement here, though, was could this be the best blue-red archetype we've seen in a number of years? Because like this actually feels doable and is like not just solely spells matter.
Yeah. And then Synergy, I was also high because, and I kind of know what else is in the set, and it's like, man, it really makes some cards that are not good awesome. And like you're just playing a variety of cards that other people don't want, which rules.
Yep. And I went 3, but I could definitely see going up to 4. Like there's going to be cards that say discard when you discard, that suddenly they're so high value because they say that.
Yeah, I guess maybe if you have enough payoffs at common where you know people are going to see them in your packs, they're going to see little shark guys running around. You can be a little more abstract with your signposts, but these signposts are just so funny. They're so vague for what is actually like an extremely meaty, well tied in archetype. Yeah, all right. I could say the same thing some more, but I feel like I'm repeating myself a little too much. What's Golgari? Well, speaking of repeating yourself, what's Golgari up to?
I'm sorry if the energy in the podcast drops here for a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we have black-green graveyard.
Yeah.
Fill up your graveyard and keep returning your threats to rise above. Sorry. Keep returning your threats to rise above the roadkill.
I guess we can't have a cool Izzet and a cool Golgari in the same set. That would just be too much of a stretch.
I even put the note, I think when we did Thunder Junction, it was the same exact thing. And you rated the excitement a lot higher. I was like, let me see if I can check my notes here. I said, here we go again. Still hyped, Tim?
Not this time around. This as an archetype, this was not there.
You need a little bit more time.
Why did I like it in OTJ? I guess because the cards are just so cool.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it had been maybe a little bit longer since we'd just seen like straight graveyard matters.
Yeah.
But here, I mean, I just feel like we've been seeing it so much recently.
Yeah, let's get through it.
We have 2 mana. No, we do the vehicle first. 1 second. All right, we have a big vehicle here. 2 black, black, green, green. So double black, double green, 2 colorless for a 6/5 Menace Reach. When this enters, destroy target non-land permanent an opponent controls with mana value 4 or less. Crew 3, cycling 2. Whew, that card does a lot.
Destroy something with mana value 4 or less.
And then start slamming.
Yeah, it has cycling, which maybe a little bit less so than Izzet, but cycling is good in graveyard sets too. Or it is good in graveyard synergies too. This is a little awkward to cast. This
card is screaming, cycle me and then use a reanimation spell to bring me back.
Yeah.
You know, let's say I draft that like 5 mana common reanimator spell. This is the kind of card I'm looking for, is like, okay, I know I'm going to get this in the graveyard. If I cast it, it feels good. If I reanimate it, it feels amazing. And it makes that Crew 3 6/5 kind of feel work. You know, usually if I see Crew 3, I want some juice stats. This isn't super juiced, but I'll take it.
It's funny how heavy they went on the mana. The black, green, green. They're like, look, this card is so functional, we don't want other people splashing it. You have to be devoted to Golgari to play this card.
Also, I think we would be remiss not to highlight the weird, it's like a spider, organic spider vehicle. And the spider legs seem like they are functional, but it's also just got giant tires on it.
Hell yeah.
Truly all-terrain.
Thinking more about it, the like black, green, green cost maybe is also working in concert with cycling, because like if I'm playing like a Simic deck and this wasn't so heavy committed to black, I would definitely play this in every Simic deck if it was only 1 black pip, because I could just cycle it away if I didn't draw one of my 3 black sources, and play it if I'm, if I do draw one of my black sources. So maybe if you're using cycling on powerful cards, like you want to make sure that you cost that appropriately so that not everyone just steals it.
Yeah, that's a really good catch.
Maybe, I guess depending on how good the Izzet cycling deck is, maybe I still don't care. Like, I'm never casting this. I just want to cycle it. I'm still going to steal from the Golgari players who are shaking their fist.
This whole set just turns into the set. Oh, you remember way back at Korea, where everyone just tried to jam the cycling deck, and it didn't matter what it said. It just mattered that it said cycling. Yeah,
they learned a couple lessons. The 1 mana cyclers are color keyed, so the like red, 1 red mana instead of just a generic mana. Or a lot of them are two mana cycling. So it's not quite as just take every cycling card, get the 16 cycling card deck like it was in Ikoria. I mean, we can only hope. If we get to do the 16 cycling deck still with Izzet, we're going to be happy campers. But our other card for Golgari is Broodheart Engine. I guess they grow their vehicles. They don't build their vehicles. And it's black-green, 2 mana for an artifact. Welcome to Dirtletown, because we got at the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 1. So you're going to surveil a couple times, and then you're going to use this other ability, 2 black-green, tap and sack, 4 mana. Return target creature or vehicle card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery. This second ability, where you get to reanimate something, is not good enough on its own to play this card. So in order for me to care about Broodheart Engine, I have to care about like getting a little bit of surveil early so I can dump some more cards. It's like a deferred mill almost.
Yeah. My read on Broodheart Engine because of that surveil was pretty high.
Oh, okay.
Like, I don't know how you compare it to Dune Drifter. Dune Drifter is like just the reanimation part.
Yeah.
But you know, you can theoretically get it for a little bit cheaper. You know, you can do it a little bit more smoothly in curve, but it's not quite as flexible as this Broodheart. This Broodheart can bring back something big for a fairly efficient cost. And then that surveil made me pretty high on it. The card selection inherent in that, I was pretty jazzed about.
Oh, okay. Excitement wise, pretty low. I put a 2 and you put a 1, so you're even lower in terms of Golgari doing graveyard again. Look, do vehicles provide enough of a twist? No, they don't.
No. green always has an uphill battle on the excitement train for me, and when you do the same archetype in green, you're screwed.
Yeah, we're actually quite low on green overall. I'm even lower than you, but like if I'm looking at red, green 1, green, white 1, black, green 2, and then blue, green 2, like all 4 of the green archetypes are 1s or 2s for me. You like Gruul, you're a Gruul boy, so.
You put exhaust on a card, I'm into it.
Alrighty, yeah. So we're low on excitement, but I think we're both pretty convinced that this is what Golgari will be doing.
we are confident.
Yeah, and maybe that's where you are higher. You are pumping up Broodheart engine a little bit, where you're saying like, I'm really confident that if I'm Golgari, the selection of Surveil plus the graveyard filling of Surveil plus having big things that are getting dumped in my graveyard means this card will just definitely function. It's kind of funny because if this was just like a mono green card, I guess you wouldn't do Surveil, but pretend it's a mono green card, then it's like, I can put this in all kinds of decks that it's not good in, you know. Yep. But because it's locked to Golgari, it's like this card will always function in the deck that it's color keyed to.
We ended up on opposite ends of the spectrum on Synergy, and I think this happened last time with the same exact archetype too. I was kind of I don't know. What do you reanimate? You reanimate cards that are good. You know, I don't know if I feel like reanimation really changes the way I view any specific types of cards.
Yeah. Golgari Graveyard is like a go-to because it is kind of naturally, it's hard for it to be that low on Synergy because like mill cards become so good for you and are so nothing for everybody else that like if I just have a creature, I think there's a creature that's like enters, mill 3 cards and get a land from among those. Milling cards is so good for you, but like the Simic deck does not care about milling. The Gruul deck does not care about milling. You have cards that just like go way higher for you than for everybody else. Or that you get late because no one else wants it, which feels like a synergy thing. Is it an exciting synergy? I don't know. Yeah. I guess when I play a card and instead of being a 2/2, it's a 9/9, then I'll be excited. But yeah, it's not novel, but I think it is synergistic. All right, our second to last one here. We always round it out with the most aggro and the most low archetypes, Boros and Simic.
Yep.
For red white, we've got vehicles and mounts aggro. So Selesnya was green-white was mid-range. This is saying, hey, the same thing but faster. Road Rage, keep driving forward with the Cloudspire Cruise offense to make your opponents backpedal. That's our required pun per paragraph here.
Reading this, I'm a little nervous for this archetype because the green-white archetype seemed pretty fast. Like, you drop that two true drop on turn 2 and then start pumping your board.
Yeah, we're already hitting quite hard. Yeah, you're right. Reading this, I think the art on the Cloudspire cards are awesome. Like the flavor of them on the actual cards is cool. And his paragraph is just like, they're maniacs who hit people in cars, which is not at all what their flavor is.
No, it doesn't look like it at all.
Yeah, they're like super finesse light bike, Tron people, but they're not like driving up in the motorcycle and whipping you with a chain.
Great.
But our first card
here. Great reference. Holy crap. A round of applause for Tim.
I'm old. Cloudspire Coordinator is red-white for a 3/1, 2-mana 3/1. When this creature enters, scry 2. All right. And then tap. This is weirdly worded, so this is a good card for the recap. But tap and create X 1/1 colorless pilot creature tokens, where X is the number of mounts and or vehicles that enter the battlefield under your control this turn. The tokens have, this token saddles mounts and cruise vehicles as though power were 2 greater. So this creates the stereotypical pilot, 1/1 pilot that can crew as though it were a 3/1. And it can create those the same turn that vehicles enter. So if I if I don't have any vehicles and I tap this, it does nothing. I guess you could tap it just for fun if you want to, which is a weird tap ability. But what I do is each time a new vehicle enters, Cloudspire Coordinator takes a turn off and makes a pilot. Then another vehicle enters, takes the turn off, make a pilot. It's hypothetically possible you would get 2 pilots in the same activation, but really you're just tapping this to get a pilot.
Mm-hmm. This card is so extraordinarily weird. Like, so 2-mana 3/1, like, okay, aggressive body that just dies to everything. Scry 2, okay, there's some fixing. Yeah. And then, I have a tap ability that says, hey, don't attack this turn. Yeah. Attack with a vehicle next turn. None of that feels aggro to me. Like,
this
feels
kind of funny. Yeah, this feels slower than the green-white thing because this is not
Yeah.
that good at attacking, and its abilities are all around not attacking.
Hmm.
I think this card is cool.
Yeah,
You know, like
100%.
the ability, like just getting the Scry 2 on there, like this deck feel, you know, if you're doing vehicles aggro and you are actually aggro, like the AB-ness, the like I need some pilots and I need some vehicles is like extra tight, right? I don't have a long game. I need to win early. So I really need my draws to be functional. So Scry 2 really helps for that and, you know, solves a problem. And then if I guess like the tap ability is cool, but like I already have a 3/1 that can crew any vehicle. Like,
Right?
it's strange. Why am I not just crewing that vehicle more?
Hmm. This almost feels like it would have been, the text on it feels closer to a rare text, but I
Yeah,
think you need a little bit more juice at rare to make this card
yeah,
playable.
yeah,
But it kind of feels like that rare build around, maybe you make it legendary and somebody builds a whole commander deck around it kind of thing.
yeah,
But I'm guessing they couldn't figure out how to get the power level up high enough. And then you don't want to get rid of this text because I think the text is cool. It
yeah,
just
yeah.
maybe doesn't help the archetype as much as you'd want.
I think the other funny thing that people have been talking about is this is like 2/3 exactly the same as the Kaladesh archetype
Scry,
uncommon. It's
yeah.
just a 2-mana 3/1 that when it enters cries 2, and it
Hmm.
cares a little bit about crewing vehicles. So maybe they went big on the ability just to distance themselves from the card they already printed.
And then we have Cloudspire Sky Cycle, 2 red white for a 2/3 flying vehicle. When it
Oh,
enters, distribute 2+1/+1 counters among 1 or 2 other target vehicles and/or creatures you control. Crew 1.
crew 1.
4 mana 2/3. You're probably putting a counter on itself, so it's becoming a 4 mana 3/4, and then it's also
Mhm.
buffing the creature you played on turn 2 or 3.
My read on this was not that positive.
So maybe my 3/1 can attack. And so I crew my Cloudspire, but I way over crewed because it's
Yeah.
only crew 1. So I feel like
Yeah.
I'm missing out. And it feels actively bad. And that's been like a
Yeah.
huge problem. That's something we noticed in Wrenchmar, not to pitch
Yeah,
Wrenchmar some
yeah.
more,
No,
but
that's good.
we noticed it of just like you don't want to feel like you're over crewing your vehicles. You want to feel like you're crewing right where you should be and that you're getting the appropriate
Yeah.
reward. And really your only reward here is if you're using these 2 cards exactly is
Yeah.
flying. And that doesn't feel great.
Even if you didn't have the coordinator, if you just have like a bunch of 1/1s or whatever, this can already pump them to get their power up to 2 so they can
Yep.
crew 2.
Yep.
I really like the flavor that like maybe we're even finding out that Kylum is high tech. You know, Kylum the
Hmm.
setting for Battle Bond. Maybe we're finding out that other parts of that world are like Tron, you know, laser hard light technology kind of stuff. But yeah, the cards themselves do not get me there. So we're both one there. Accuracy. Do we think that red white will be doing this? Yeah, we both
Yeah.
agreed that this is what red white will be doing. I think they wanted to make every vehicle like exactly 3 mana, and then they're like, guys, we can't make every vehicle 3 mana. Only half of the factions get to have 3 mana vehicles,
Yeah.
and the other ones, you know, we got to pump up like the Azorius one, the blue white flyer one. How do we make a 6 mana vehicle that anyone would want to play? Because like vehicles when they're rares, you know, they've got so much juice that it's fine that they're expensive. But it's hard to have like a vehicle that is expensive and also not rare because it's just
Hmm.
not going to have that much juice. Anyhow, synergy wise, I was kind of low on synergy, maybe because I looked at these 2 cards, but you were higher. Is that because you kind of feel like the pilots will actually be useful tokens?
Yep. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is like, I think the idea here of like, if I get a pilot every time I play a vehicle and suddenly
Yeah.
my 1/1 tokens aren't bad because I can crew every
Yeah.
vehicle that I play,
Okay.
that's probably good. The counters go on to the pilots to make them better creatures. It's kind of like I know I'm going to need other cards, and it's also a little bit reflective of the fact that these cards just aren't particularly good. This is kind of the same situation where I think you would have rated it low synergy, low power. I'm giving it a little higher synergy, but still pretty low on the overall power of these cards.
Mm-hmm. A lot of these vehicles are like, I leave something behind when I enter. And that something is a vehicle, and that vehicle is mediocre, which is fine. We had to get what was it, 30 something vehicles in the set, which is not a feat that I thought possible. But
I think they got to 41, right?
41, damn.
Yep.
All right.
Shout out to Pat. I think they
All right.
called out over 40, and they just got there.
Wow. I was under. I was not a believer.
Mm-hmm. Well, next up we got Blue-Green Exhaust Ramp. The Aether Rangers have mana to burn, fueling abilities that grant their creatures a huge burst of power.
You're exhaust boy, so you're throwing cash in the air. You're the lights are flashing. You're excited.
We'll see. We kind of talked about this earlier. Is ramping into exhaust something I really feel like I need to do? Or is the exhaust abilities going to be good enough on their own? Yeah, maybe the reason you want to exhaust or ramp up to exhaust is because you want to exhaust a lot of things at once. And Ranger's Aether Hive, 1 green-blue for a 3/5, might help you do that. It's a vehicle with vigilance. Whenever you activate an exhaust ability, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter with flying. It has crew 1. So you exhaust another creature, you get a Thopter. You keep doing that. Yeah. It's kind of like, oh, you take the turn off, you don't cast anything, you exhaust, but here's a creature for your trouble.
Or most exhausts, I think you can also do at instant speed.
Oh, nice.
The Thopters that it creates are able to crew the vehicle because it's only crew 1. You're pretty likely to be able to keep your Aether Hive alive, or not alive, but energized. And it has vigilance, so it's kind of important that anybody can crew it and that I can create like a surplus of tokens.
Yeah, it actually becomes a thing that you can crew on both your turn and your opponent's turn.
Yeah, it's hungry for that because of vigilance. Yeah.
Yep. So pretty solid.
I guess that's a little bit like the blue-white card, which when in tutored, it can tutor a little creature directly into play to help, with that vigilance vehicle. Yeah, both these vigilance vehicles have ways of doing that.
Yeah, and there's actually a pretty nice play pattern here with the other uncommon.
Yeah, which is Sky Serpent Seeker. Green. I don't know why I didn't want to say green-blue. Green-blue for I want to say blue-green. I don't know why.
I said blue-green in the thing before. I don't know why it's blue-green, but it should be green-blue.
Yeah. All the other ones were fine saying red-white. No, whatever. Okay, well, psychologists let us know why we're doing that. Linguists. But it's blue-green, 2 mana for a 1/1 flying death touch snake. Snake with wings. Get excited.
Hell yeah.
Exhaust for 4 mana. Reveal cards from the top of your library until you reveal 2 land cards. Put those lands onto the battlefield tapped, and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. So I double ramp. I exhaust to get 2 lands out of my graveyard. Us ramp lovers also know, I'm also thinning my deck. I have 2 fewer lands on my deck, so I'll draw more gas. And then I put a +1/+1 counter on here. So I go from a 1/1 flying death toucher to a 2/2 flying death toucher, which to me doesn't count. That's just for tracking. That's just to remember I've already done this.
Yeah. This is a pretty sick curve. So you play your 2 mana 1/1 flying death toucher. Okay. You kind of lock down the board.
All right.
You play your vehicle. Now nobody wants to attack you because not only do you have a death toucher, but then you also have a good blocker on turn 3. And then on turn 4, you exhaust, you ramp 2 lands, and you get a 1/1 token.
Yeah.
And you get in with your 2/2, Tim.
Oh, hell yeah.
We're cooking.
Yeah, I'm convinced on these cards working together, unlike our Boros cards that we just talked about. These two are best buds. They really function as a unit.
I like the exhaust coming in at 4 here. You ramp up, and then I really think that the difference between this archetype and the red-green archetype that I'm feeling is this archetype, I want to exhaust a lot of cards for maybe these incremental effects over the course of the game. Every time I exhaust, I increase my win percentage. Versus the red-green archetype, it really felt to me like I'm just really trying to exhaust once or twice to finish off the game.
Yeah.
At least that's the feeling I got from the archetype uncommons.
Yeah. And maybe if I'm blue-green, we've talked about blue-green endlessly. We had an episode on it. One of the problems with blue-green is that like ramp and card draw are also really good at splashing. So the chance that you just stay blue-green is maybe a little bit low. But maybe it bodes well for your ability to get exhaust cards from red and play like Teamer. Simic is secretly Teamer. It's all 3 colors. And you're able to get, 8 or 10 exhaust cards in your deck because of that. I was lower across the board on these. I love Simic just conceptually, but a lot of these Simic archetypes are hard for me to get into. And this one felt kind of similar, but you actually want to do it. You're the exhaust boy.
Yeah. I think the exhaust is doing a lot the heavy lifting here, but I'm excited about exhaust. I want to play with exhaust.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to be doing this. I actually rated it a little bit lower on accuracy than red green. I'm not totally convinced that I will exhaust. Like 2 is the threshold that I'm kind of putting on exhaust. If I exhaust more than 2 cards, then it's like, wow, I'm really doing it. I'm doing the exhaust thing. If I exhaust less than 2 cards, which I think is going to be average, I feel like maybe that's not what blue green is advertising. They're advertising you want to exhaust multiple times in a game.
I guess both these cards feel like fully solid cards to me. It's just, I don't know. Will I really be playing the exhaust deck? I don't know.
Is it a deck? I think, and it's a question that comes up when you're designing archetypes as a custom designer of oh, what if this deck, or what if this color is the blank color and it does this mechanic? And then you kind of, as the designer, start building around it, you're like, that's not really a deck. Like it's an ability that cards have, but it's not a deck that you build around.
Yeah. All right, so let's recap a little bit. What are some of your favorites? Did you learn anything from this? What are we taking from this episode?
Yeah, I think my favorites are probably blue black and blue white. I think I really like that. I'm into the robots. I'm big on the robots, and I feel like those two are playing in a space that they're playing in that sweet spot of a space we don't see all the time, but a space we're also confident we can build in.
And also, like, the set is set up to support it.
Yeah.
There's 40 vehicles in the set. Naturally, there's artifacts everywhere. And so, like, you can have, artifacts matter just because vehicles are there, but you can also have artifacts matter because we're also adding in a bunch of little cute robots.
Mm-hmm. You don't want birthday cake every night, but you want birthday cake on your birthday.
There you go.
And this feels like a little birthday cake for me.
Happy birthday. I got you a haunted tractor that is going to kill you with the souls of your family.
Hell yeah. What about you? What's your favorite? I have a guess, but we'll see.
It's got to be, is it? I want to do the cycling deck.
Yep.
It's funny because the cycling deck is not naturally supported by Aetherdrift kind of conceptually, like vehicles everywhere. That doesn't really help it. But they put cycling in here. I guess I don't totally know all the reasons why cycling is in this set, but if cycling is in here, it maybe allows for more ambition or just a wider variety of cards, and then to have a payoff for also having like a whole bunch of selection feels really cool. But yeah, I'm also in on the robots. I think I'm hoping the Rakdos deck is a little more interesting than the average, just like hit people, and I guess we'll find out.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you kind of like where red's at in the set. I kind of like where blue's at in the set. That's my takeaway.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm gonna do a 2-headed giant pre-release tonight. I'll do that, and then I'll message you in the middle of the night and say, "Oh God, that episode is gonna age so poorly."
Hey, I remember when I had a take so bad on the Lord of the Rings set that Gabe signed up for the Discord to tell me about it. So if I'm wrong, feel free to sign on and let me know what I'm wrong.
Yeah, please join the Discord and tell us how wrong we are.
I'm very happy to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it for our kind of main topic. As usual, we have our big monthly challenge, which is, the big way to interact with us, even in the Discord. I woke up this morning to about 50 messages in the Design Challenge channel because people, if they want to crack it, they want to do something cool. Because this time, Juliet cooked up the challenge 4 weeks. Design a card that could be cast one way for 2 mana, and the other way for 8. 28 days in February.
There's a couple bonus points. First one is roses are red, violets are blue. The 2 costs involve different colors. And honey is sweet, and so are you. Make some part of your card rhyme with itself.
So extensive discussion on this bonus point as well.
Yeah.
Do you have the name of the card rhyme? Do you have like different rules text rhyme? I don't know. But it's the 2-8 challenge, and you got all 28 days. You got until the 28th to get this in. We also like to highlight a couple of things that are going on in the community. Like you've been slipping in all episode. You're working on Wrenchmar, your sort of junk world, Mad Max vehicles and tinkering set. People are playtesting that. We've got a couple other projects people have just been working on. Outpost Zero, kind of futuristic horror set. Larson's back on Storms of Yerzavon, which is sort of a weather matters set. So weather shifting, all that kind of stuff. So be sure to check in on those. But we've also got You Make the Pack is back.
You Make the Pack.
This kind of activity, this is another way, if you just want to submit one card, this is a way to do that. But if you also want to go crazy deep, you could do that too. This time around, it sounds like you backed yourself into running it by by kicking it off. And it looks like the theme here is that not only are people submitting their first card, but they're submitting a pitch for what the whole pack should be about. You Make the Pack in the past has been sometimes a little more Ouija boardy. You know, one card comes in, then another, and then like we sort of triangulate the theme of the pack. We've had You Make the Packs where it's like, no, this is a sequel to this set, and this whole pack will be about being a sequel. Here, we don't quite know what our theme is going to be, but we're probably going to lock it in with the first vote.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. We've gotten a lot of interesting pitches so far. This episode will go up, and I think we'll be in the middle of. You'll have about 2 more days to submit a card, and then we'll be voting on what our favorite is.
Yeah, so you're doing like an extra long first card, is that right, for the pitches here?
Oh, Tim, don't act like I know anything about what I'm doing. Okay. I was like, a week is normally how long we keep the pack open, right? I'll do a week.
It's usually 4 days, but...
Okay, so yeah, we're doing an extra long start so that people can get pitches together, and then we'll speed it up a little bit.
Yeah,
for sure. That very thoughtful, very much think, big brain.
But yeah, there's always a lot of discussion, people giving feedback, honing their designs, all that kind of stuff. And it's just a great thing to be around, and a great thing to, whatever time zone you're in, you wake up and there's a bunch of messages lit up for you to digest. But that's it for the podcast for the week. Hop on the Discord. That's where all the action is. Any mono whiteboarder recommendation for this episode?
I've been watching a lot of David Lynch movies recently.
Oh, okay. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, David Lynch. So we just got to Mulholland Drive. Me, my brother, and a couple friends watched that last night. Very good. And I also like Blue Velvet. Those were both fantastic movies.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're for everybody. I don't think David Lynch is for everybody. I think sometimes the subject matter can be a little intense.
Yeah.
And in honor of the fact that we're talking about Aetherdrift some more, I think I should just suggest something about racing. So I think what you should do tonight is go check out Cars again. Relive the magic. That was
the movie Cars?
The movie Cars.
What a swerve. I thought we were talking just the Mulholland Drive off of the car crasher in the beginning or whatever.
Yeah. No, I think fire up Pixar, watch Cars again.
Life is a highway.
Cars has this magical feeling as like the kid that was who had the like cool mat where you drove around and like all the cars had like a little personality. I think Cars captures that so well. Captures that childlike wonder. Magic. A real amazing piece of cinema.
Alrighty. If you want to tell Peter your impression after being fresh off a Cars movie, Discord is the only place to find you, right? You're hidden. I'm
safe. Tucked away in the Beacon Discord. All
right.
Yeah.
Find us there.
My nice place.
And most of all, thanks for listening.
And then for this episode, I think that you should like have like a sound effect for the cars like going into gear, and it's like and then like screeches off like